Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the H&H Sports Podcast. I'm Tanner Hicks, joined alongside my co-host, as always, Jackson Huey. And what a week of college football it was, man. The opening weekend of the college football season did not disappoint at all. We had good games coming right on Thursday when it started, and then all throughout the weekend, man. It was an absolutely insane week of college football. Let's just jump straight into talking about the games, man. The first game that happened on Thursday was Pittsburgh, West Virginia, and that game was just as back and forth as you could have got out of that game. It was a rivalry game, which made it even more enjoyable to watch, and like the ending was absolutely crazy. They won on like a pick six, where the receiver dropped the pass. Like it was literally a perfect pass for JT Daniels right here, and it plopped behind them right into the hands of a Pittsburgh defender, and they took it back and they won. That game was super crazy. A game that same night was Penn State Purdue, one of our pick'em games. Penn State had control for most of the game, and then Purdue made a little surge to come back, and then Penn State ended up closing it out. But the freshman for Penn State, Drew Aller at quarterback. Look, I thought he looked good for the limited time he got, but all in all, like when Sean Clifford came back, that final drive from Sean Clifford was immaculate. Like he couldn't have done better to seal out that game for Penn State. That game was pretty good. Having Gus Johnson back on the call for college football was second to none. But where the weekend made its money was on the Saturday games. The first Saturday game I want to talk about, which was through all like the great crazy games, through all of the the games that happened on the final play, whatever. The most interesting game, in my opinion, was the Georgia-Oregon game. Oh, Tanner, they got beat by 46. Why is it so interesting? That's what made it so interesting. We were worried about Georgia's offense. How can Stetson Bennett be the field general to an offense, be the best player on an offense?
He proved me wrong.
And
I'll go ahead and say it on record. I was completely wrong about Stetson Bennett.
Will all the pieces that Georgia lost come back and bite them against number 11 Oregon on week 1? And they showed that none of that mattered at all. They came out firing on all cylinders, did not take the foot off the gas, and they absolutely obliterated Oregon. And Bo Nix, his final game against Georgia, just looked like the same games he played before at Auburn.
Right.
Just absolute misery. Oregon got absolutely slapped. I thought Georgia was going to win. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they won by multiple scores. But the fact that they manhandled them that bad was just it kind of blew me away, and it made me think, like, is Georgia still the best team in the country? Even with all the players that they lost.
Yeah. I think that's still Alabama. But, I think it's Alabama and Georgia, and then it's like there's probably a gap. I mean,
I think it's Georgia right now. I don't think there's any other way you could say it's not. Like, yeah, Alabama played Utah State. They haven't really had a test yet. We'll see that this week when they play Texas. But
sort of, kind of, yeah.
Georgia just looked absolutely dominant on both sides of the football. It is like,
yeah,
last season, yeah, they looked like unstoppable in defense, but there are times on offense to be like, that's they looked mid.
Yeah.
But
that offense the other day looked better than it did all last year.
Exactly. Even against like the games like UAB where they put up 50 points or whatever, that it was just a masterclass of football put on by Georgia against a top 11 team in Oregon. It was absolutely insane. That was the most interesting game of the weekend, in my opinion, just because of, like, we were worried about Georgia on the offensive side of the ball, and then they come out and absolutely throttle Oregon like they were some FCS team.
Right. Yeah, that was crazy. I thought there was going to be a better game than that, but
my favorite game of the week was Utah, Florida. simply because I was right about the Florida pick. And I wasn't saying that just to say an upset or whatever. I thought Florida was going to win that genuinely. And they came out. Anthony Richardson put on a masterclass of football. And
Amazing performance. Florida
comes out to the Swamp and beats top 10 ranked Utah. And I didn't think Utah looked bad at all in that game. I thought they ran step for step with Florida. I thought Florida was just going to out-athlete Utah. Not that Utah has bad athletes, but Florida is just has better athletes. And I thought Florida was just going to out-athlete them. And then Utah really, really set the tone in the trenches, in my opinion. Just ground and pound football, and then, milking the clock and, really taking time of possession out of the hands of Florida, which didn't help in the long run, but it was a good strategy. Get the ball out of the hands of Anthony Richardson and, take time off the clock, which was working, but Utah just kept shooting themselves in the foot. And ultimately,
I didn't see much of that game. But saw the highlights, and Florida looked good.
I thought Florida looked really good. The high tempo offense that Billy Napier ran on Saturday I think really fit Florida's play style. Ohio State, Notre Dame. Now, this was the marquee matchup of the weekend. Two top 5 teams, but in my opinion, the game was kind of boring. It obviously was an interesting game considering the two teams played, but it wasn't just it was a very slow-paced Big Ten football game, if that makes sense. C.J. Stroud had a good game. I thought he played really good against one of the best defenses in the country, but it's just Notre Dame couldn't move the ball. Tyler Buckner, I praised him last week, saying I thought he'd be pretty decent, and I'm not going to knock him for having a not the greatest game against Ohio State, the number 2 team in the country, but he looked shaky, man. It's your first start, and it's against Ohio State, but there is a whole season to go. I'm not gonna shake.
Yeah, he should be able to bounce back versus Marshall this week.
Yeah, no, Notre Dame's gonna definitely bounce back against Marshall this week. I just thought I was kind of disappointed in Notre Dame. They played well, but they just came up short against a better team. And
down the stretch, Ohio State really took over that game. I mean, Notre Dame had a 10-7 lead for a while.
Yeah, they had the lead going in halftime, and they just didn't score in the second half. They got shut out in the second half and only scored 10 points.
I will say they didn't get throttled like everybody thought they was going to.
I mean, we thought they were going to win.
Yeah, we thought they were going to win, but
I was kind of disappointed considering I was riding the train that Notre Dame was the second best team in the country. Which it's the first game. They still have 11 more games to go to finish the season, but I don't know. That may not be the case. Ohio State may be way better than I thought they would be. But yeah, that game was from a viewing standpoint, it wasn't as interesting as everybody thought it was going to be, at least in my opinion. Let's move on to the really close games. NC State, East Carolina. This game,
man, I'd hate to be East Carolina's kicker.
Oh my gosh, he lost them the game. That's what it was. He himself lost them the game. They were step for step with NC State that entire game. I thought NC State was going to run away with that game. I contemplating even watching this NC State and Devin Leary is just going to kill this East Carolina team. But East Carolina team fought from the whole 60 minutes, and then they bring it to within 1 point. The kicker misses the PAT. Is him down 1. I thought the game was over at that point. And then they get the ball back, drive down, get within field goal range, and he does it again and misses the PAT to lose them the game. Just an absolute heartbreak if you're an East Carolina fan, and an absolute sigh of relief if you're an NC State fan.
I had last episode. I said I thought NC State could win the ACC.
The ACC, and they
and I didn't watch that game, but I saw the score and I was like, whoa, I may have been way wrong on this.
Their offense struggled to move the ball against ECU, and it was like it was puzzling seeing how much NC State struggled. And I don't know, man. Maybe if this is the NC State team we're seeing for the rest of the year, it's not looking good for them. It's not looking good for them. Arkansas, Cincinnati was a good game start to finish, but even with me saying that, I never thought Arkansas was going to lose that game. It was a good game, but Arkansas was just better. Like, you could see it from the first snap. Arkansas was just the better football team. And even with Cincinnati, fighting and clawing that entire game, Ben Bryant having a decent game, that Arkansas was just better. The game I never thought was going to end, Houston UTSA, ended in 3 overtimes. And Frank Harris, man, like, there was one play where he escaped out of 4 defenders trying to sack him, and then he throws it and he throws a touchdown to tie the game to send it into another overtime. It was that game I never thought was going to end. I was rooting for UTSA to win. So, us and Houston would have the same record at the end of the week, but that was just a fun game to watch. This is why college football is so great, is that games like Houston and UTSA are just great.
Yeah, UTSA ain't a walk in the park.
Yeah, they were 13-14-1 last season. A game similar in outcome, but a game that featured more points than the teams put up against each other in basketball this past season was North Carolina at Appalachian State. That late surge from App State at the end of the game was incredible. They were down 14 points with 8 minutes or something like that. And then they come back.
They scored 40 points in the fourth quarter.
They scored 61 points, 41 points in the fourth quarter, and they still lost that game. That's 1 in a million chance of that happening. If you score 61 points, 40 in the fourth quarter, and had as many yards as they did, there's a 99% chance you're going to win. But your defense allowing 63 points just was that not helping at all. It was that late surge from App State at the end was wild. They were down 14 with 8 minutes to go. They come back, they go for 2 to take the lead, and the quarterback Chase Bryce overthrows his wide open receiver, and they don't get the 2-point conversion. They try the onside kick.
I thought that 2-point was to tie it.
I think it was to take the lead. Yeah, it was to take the lead because they miss it, and then they go for the onside, and North Carolina returns the onside kick to bring it within 8, and then App State gets the ball back, and then they go back and they score again to bring it within 2. And then
this is a 2-point conversion I'm thinking about.
Yeah, then they missed the 2-point conversion to lose the game. That's wild. Such a crazy game. I thought that was going to be a good game just heading into the weekend because App State usually plays Power 5 schools pretty good.
All right, since we picked it, I don't really want to talk about it, but Memphis, Mississippi State was bad. Will Rogers looked like the second best quarterback in the SEC, in my opinion. Memphis's offense looked terrible.
It got going a little bit late, but that's when
it got going late.
Stop trying.
Yeah, it got going late, which we can build on that. But I think a lot of people saying the defense looked bad, but I think a lot of the problem is they couldn't get off the field. They couldn't stay off the field because
that's always been Memphis's problem.
Well,
third down on defense is has been our kryptonite.
Not even that specifically. I mean, Mississippi State had the ball for 26 minutes of the first half. So the defense got no break in between drives. That's what loses us games. We can't get off the field on third down, and we don't create turnovers. So I think that's what loses us games is that we don't get time of possession. When we see the offense, this happened in the ECU game last season. We don't stop them on third down. They had like 20 third down conversions that game or something, and they had all the time of possession in the world, and we were scoring on like 2 or 3 plays every time. That's why we were in overtime in the first place at all in that game, because we were just scoring on 2 or 3 plays every time. But we couldn't get off the field, and that's what hurt us against Mississippi State, is that they just kept taking advantage of like getting third down conversions and running the clock and keep our defense sucking air the entire game.
Yeah, and
our offense didn't do our defense any favors either. Like,
yeah,
I'm not like extremely upset, because it's a Mississippi State. They're supposed to be a decent SEC school this season, so I'm not tripping entirely. But it is like hard to see your team lose that bad any time.
Right. Yeah, a lot of drops on offense. It was bad.
Yeah,
we couldn't get anything going. I feel like we didn't. I don't know if we didn't run the ball enough, or I don't know.
It was just a bad outing from the Tigers, but we'll bounce back next week. Now, the best game of the entire weekend, in my opinion, was Florida State LSU. Now,
you said that about like 3 games, right?
Like, it's been a great weekend. What can I say? Like, I do think this was the best game, though. This was Florida State. I would say had control of the game for the majority of the game. It looked like Florida State was going to win with 5 minutes left in the game, and then they just kept turning the ball over. Like,
typical Mike Norville gonna do it. Come call one stupid play in there somewhere.
I thought he called a great game up until the last.
He did, but you cannot toss the ball on the 1 yard line.
I know that's kind of the running back's fault too for dropping it, but a toss in that situation is risky.
That play shouldn't have been called, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was
it's on the running back ultimately. But
calling a toss in that spot is tough.
When all you did was take 3 knees, kick a field goal, and the game was over.
But they miraculously fumble, and then LSU takes the ball 99 yards in 1 minute and 20 seconds and scores to bring the game within 2. And then special teams is what lost LSU this game.
I don't know what did Brian Kelly not work on special teams at all this offseason? They had 2 punts blocked and 2 field goals blocked. Or not 2 punts. He dropped 2 punts.
They muffed a couple punts. Neighbors, I think, was the receiver who muffed 2 punts, and one of them, they lost, and then it didn't ultimately matter, but they lost the punt, and they get the ball back and they take it 99 yards to score, but then they have their field goal blocked, the PAT blocked.
The second field goal blocked of the night
to tie the game, which was you couldn't write that. you can't write that outcome, bro. You miraculously get the ball back on the 1 yard line. You drive the entire field to score
after you fumble the punt.
After you muff the punt. The fact that you're even in this situation is miraculous. And then you get your PAT blocked, bro. It's you can't write that. It's absolutely insane, that game. The first half was kind of meh. The second half was just, thing after thing after thing. And it just sums up the weekend. This weekend was probably the most fun week of college football I've seen in a while. It was insane. Just what a way to kick off the weekend.
I will say, Brian Kelly's face expression did not. Every time they put him on TV, he had the same expression the whole game. He didn't smile once, nothing. He had the same expression on his face the whole entire game.
He was just there.
He didn't talk. I didn't even see him talking to the headset one single time.
He was just there. And the Monday game, Clemson, Georgia Tech, kind of boring. It was getting interesting in the first half. Georgia Tech was keeping it close because Clemson just forgot how to play offense. Like I said this last week, their coordinators were what was keeping them from me having Clemson really, really, really good. And although they did win 41-10, it was kind of shaky. Like the play calling that I saw, like especially from the offensive coordinator, and part of it is that DJ Uiagalelei being kind of bad. Like when the freshman came in, I thought they should have just rolled out with the freshman. Cade Klubnik, his name, the freshman. I thought they should have just rolled with him because like in the limited time he got, he looked way better than DJ did the entire game.
Yeah. And I wonder, like, you know, when Cade came in, they were still throwing the ball up 24 with 4 minutes left. Is that an audition or is?
Yeah, I think they were just trying to see what he was about. That I think Dabo at the end of the game saying like DJ's our guy or whatever, but I don't know. This could be a.
But is that an audition throwing the ball?
I don't know, man. This could be a Kelly Bryant, Trevor Lawrence type of situation we have on our hands. I don't know, man. I thought Cade looked better. Just in the limited time that we saw, DJ, you know, was the winning quarterback in this game, but I thought Cade looked a little better. That was week 1 of college football. I cannot wait for this next week. Let's get to the pick'ems of week 2.
All right, we got our pick'ems. You ready?
Let's go.
First game, we have Arizona State at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is an 11-point favorite.
This is an interesting game. Arizona State looked good last week with their new QB, Emory Jones. He didn't throw it for a touchdown, unsurprisingly. But he did rush for a couple. And Oklahoma State looked pretty shaky against Central Michigan. They allowed 44 points to Central Michigan. But I think their defensive coordinator from last season went to Ohio State. I don't think he's there anymore. That defensive coordinator that helped them have like a really good defense last season, I don't think he's there anymore. But then again, it was Central Michigan, so Oklahoma State did look kind of shaky. They did score 58 points. They did get the job done, but I'm still going to ride with Oklahoma State on this game. It's just I don't trust Emory Jones as a starting quarterback. I don't, especially against a pretty good Big 12 team in Oklahoma State. I don't trust Emory Jones, and I also don't trust Herm Edwards either. I think they should have fired him a while ago. But yeah, I'm gonna ride with Oklahoma State on this game.
Yeah, me too. I think Oklahoma State win this game, and I'd probably even take them to cover at 11.
It's not a wild prediction.
Next, we have South Carolina at Arkansas. Arkansas is an 8.5-point favorite.
It's an interesting game. Spencer Rattler looked pretty decent in his debut for South Carolina. I didn't hear anybody talk about it at all. I kind of forgot like that was a thing because like I didn't hear anything about it. Probably because how crazy the week was, but South Carolina was decent in their opener. Spencer Rattler threw a pick, but he looked solid. I don't know, man. I'm kind of going with the favorite here, like the first 2 picks, but I kind of just want to go Arkansas. Although I did have South Carolina higher than Arkansas in the SEC standings to start the season. I'm gonna ride with Arkansas here. Arkansas is just better at the moment. Like I don't know why I was so low on Arkansas to start the season. I was worried about the guys they lost.
Try to tell you.
But I'm gonna ride with Arkansas here. This still like at the moment I think Arkansas is better, but this still could end up South Carolina being better at the end of the season, hopefully. But yeah, I think right now Arkansas is just better, and I think Arkansas is gonna win. But I could see South Carolina winning, but right now I'm just gonna ride with Arkansas.
Yeah, I'm taking Arkansas too. I was high on South Carolina too, but I just think Arkansas's got them. Arkansas just looks better right now. Like
Arkansas just got that dog in them.
Next, we have 20.5-point favorite Alabama versus Texas.
Texas,
20.5.
Texas, Alabama.
Gosh.
Steve Sarkisian, first game against Alabama ever since he left. He does have a ring with them, but Alabama's gonna win. It's just gonna happen. Quinn Ewers looked pretty good in his opener against Louisiana Monroe, I think. Had his tar.
He got his car towed during the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Quinn Ewers looked really good in his opener, in the opener for Texas. Again, I just think Alabama's better. Like we saw Bryce Young lead the team in rushing yards yesterday, or in the game against Utah State. It's just the Alabama's better. It's just better.
Yeah, they may even cover this. I don't know.
They might. I also could see a side where this comes out like it's a game to like go to overtime, but I also could see a world where this game is like a 40-point blowout, like it was like a Florida-Oregon type situation or Georgia-Oregon type situation. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Alabama.
Yeah, me too. Up next, we have Tennessee at Pittsburgh. And Tennessee opens as a 6.5-point favorite.
Really? They're favored by a touchdown. Wow. This is tough. Like, this is a tough game to pick. Tennessee looked really good against Ball State.
I didn't watch it. I watched some of it, but I was watching the Pittsburgh game. A lot of people I talked to said Tennessee had trouble getting to the quarterback. And against Ball State, that might be a problem. Like, if you can't get to the quarterback against Ball State,
it could just be the scheme that they're running, but
it could be.
This is going to be a high-scoring game. Like, it's going to be a really high-scoring game. Pittsburgh with Keaton Slovis and all the guys that they have is going to put up points no matter what. And Josh Heupel and his run and gun type system with Tennessee is going to put up points no matter what. They're going to run the ball and they're going to put up points. I think this is a toss-up game. I really do. I really don't think you could pick this. But I don't know, man. Like,
I'm taking Pittsburgh.
Why?
Mostly because I can't live with myself if I pick Tennessee. But I just think being at home and Tennessee's defense is shaky.
Yeah.
I'm picking Pittsburgh. I mean,
I think like Tennessee is like they're like Memphis. They're subject to allowing like super long drives, and they make up for it by scoring in 2 or 3 plays or whatever. That was the case against like Kentucky last season. Kentucky, I remember they had like 45 or 46 minutes of possession time, and they lost. They lost to Tennessee last season after having like 90% of possession time the entire game. Tennessee had like 13 minutes of possession time, and they still won the game, scoring like 40-something points. It was absolutely wild. That could be the case here. I think this is like I could see Tennessee allowing a bunch of long drives. It just relies on if Tennessee can score or not and keep up with the Pittsburgh offense. I'm gonna ride with Pittsburgh because, like I said, I think Tennessee is a little subject to allowing long drives and being on defense for a little too long. And I think Pittsburgh is a team that could take advantage of that.
Being at home.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with Pittsburgh in this game. I could see me being wrong about this one, but like I'm gonna go with Pittsburgh. I'm gonna stick with my gut and I'm gonna go Pittsburgh.
Next up, Houston and Texas Tech. Texas Tech is a 3-point favorite.
Texas Tech is without their starting quarterback and Tyler Shaw. He's out for the next however many weeks. But the backup that replaced him looked pretty solid, although it was Murray State. He looked pretty solid. I think Houston's coming off a big win in San Antonio. I think I'm gonna go with Houston.
Man, I'm really torn. I don't really know. I mean,
like the Texas Tech without their starting quarterback. They did come off a huge win, blowout win. But I don't know. Like
I'm still gonna stick with Houston. I think Houston is just coming off a huge win. Their team's healthy. I'm gonna ride with Houston. I think Houston takes this.
Man, I'm torn. I really think Houston too. I hate that we're picking all the same teams. Yeah, I'm gonna take Houston. Next up, we have Kentucky at Florida. Florida is a 4.5-point favorite.
I'm sticking with Florida.
You're right.
Give me Florida in the swamp again, coming off a top 10 victory. Another top 25 opponent. Give me Florida. Top 10 after next week.
You got Florida in the top 10 after next week.
Like 2 back-to-back top 25 wins at home. Give me Florida. Anthony Richardson for Heisman.
I want Kentucky here.
Ooh, first disagreement of the podcast. Kentucky's the underdog in this game. Will Levis looked really good in the opener.
Yeah, I think they got some talent in the wide receiver room. If they can get going, I think they can maybe escape the swamp with the W. So
Florida did lose this game last year as the favorite also, but that was Emory Jones at quarterback and Dan Mullen at head coach. This is the Billy Napier era with Anthony Richardson. I'm going with Florida. You can't convince me otherwise. Going with Florida.
Our next game is USC 9-point favorite over Stanford.
I contemplating picking Stanford here. Just because a fun upset pick. Stanford looked really good in their opener. Like a lot of these teams are gonna look really good in their opener because they played bummy teams. But I think this is gonna be. I think Stanford could be pretty decent this year for the first time in a couple years. Like they're always gonna have this. They're a good head coach in David Shaw. They got Tanner McKee, who's looked really good at quarterback. Potential first-round pick in the NFL. I want to pick Stanford here just as a potential upset pick. But USC is just probably better. But I could see this being like a game that USC loses to. They get all this hype. They come in with all these transfers. Lincoln Riley comes in, saves the program, yada, 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 whatever. And they open the season with who's playing? Stanford's playing at home?
15 fans in attendance.
And Stanford's at home for this game. They're coming off a pretty remarkable win against Colgate. I'm going with Stanford. I'm gonna pick Stanford for my upset pick.
I'm taking USC.
Stanford wins. I was talking about last week. I wanted to put USC in the playoff, but I'm gonna pick Stanford as the upset of the week. Not a huge upset with USC only being favored by 9, but I think Stanford looked really good, and I'm gonna pick Stanford as the early upset.
Next, we have Baylor on the road versus BYU. BYU's a 3.5-point favorite.
BYU's favorite in this game. Wow, this is a toss up for me because BYU's been really good the past couple years. Baylor's coming off the best season in program history. Yeah, this is a tough game for me to pick. I had questions about Baylor last week because we didn't know who their quarterback was going to be. Blake Shapen looked really good. Jared Hall, the quarterback for the Cougars, has been there for a couple years and he looked really good last week too. They ran the ball super well against USF last week. BYU did, and Baylor just did whatever they want. So I'm gonna go with Baylor. They're a really good coach team. I'm just saying stuff. I'm gonna pick Baylor. just give me Baylor.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Baylor too.
But I could see BYU winning this game. BYU is better than most people think they are. They're always good.
Right.
And I think this will be a good game to watch. It's freaking 10-15 game, but it's gonna be a good game. It's gonna be a close game probably, but I'm gonna take Baylor.
We have the rivalry game. Iowa State goes to Iowa. Iowa's a 3.5-point favorite.
I don't know how they're favored in this game after what they did last week. Good night. Iowa.
That 7 is misleading.
They
They did not score a touchdown, ladies and gentlemen. They did not score a touchdown.
They looked worse last week than they did in the Big Ten Championship against Michigan. They scored 3 points against Michigan in the Big Ten Championship last season. They looked horrendous. Michigan killed them. And they looked better in that game than they did last week. They played South Dakota State, an FCS team.
They won 7-3 with 2 safeties.
And they scored on a field goal and 2 safeties. And they're lucky South Dakota State only had like under 200 yards of offense in that game. I'm going to look up what Iowa, like, their total yards in this game was. Their quarterback had 109 yards, an interception. He had a 1 QB rating.
A 1.
11 for 15 or 11 for 25. Like, the only way South Dakota State could have lost this game was to just suck more. And they did. Like, Iowa ran the ball 36 times and had 57 yards. Their longest run was 11. Against South Dakota State. Like, they're South Dakota State's a decent FCS team every season, but it's Iowa.
You played for the Big Ten title last year.
It's Iowa. You were ranked 2 at some point last season. You played the Big Ten. You played at home. What were you even talking about? They're playing Iowa State this season, or this game. I want to go with Iowa State because Iowa just squeaks out games every season. Like, they win 8-9 games, and they play the most Big Ten style of football that ever has been displayed ever. And Iowa State, they lose Brock Purdy, they lose Breece Hall, they lose a lot of good players, but I think they have Will McDonald on the defensive end. He's going to be an award winner candidate. I don't know the defensive end award, whatever it's called, but he's going to be a candidate for that at the end of the season. He's a preseason All-American. He's their best player. I think I'm going to take Iowa State because I just think they're better. Because I think Iowa sucks. I don't think I could take them any game for the rest of the season unless they come out and they like 50-piece Iowa State here, which would be the most bipolar thing a team has ever done ever. Because if you don't even score a touchdown against South Dakota State and then you come out and you blow out Iowa State, it's not going to happen. But if that happened, that would be wild. I'm going to take Iowa State because Iowa sucks, and I don't think I could ever take them in a game ever again.
Man, I want to take Iowa just for just for fun. I want to take Iowa.
Just out of pity.
Give me Iowa.
Iowa taking the team that's are they favored?
Somehow.
Yeah, Iowa's favored. It's because they're at home. They had 166 yards of total offense last week. But on to what we've been waiting for since February. Week 1 of the National Football League season starts Thursday. We open it up with Buffalo against the defending champion Los Angeles Rams. I think I said this in our standings predictions. I think Buffalo is the best team in the entire league. We're gonna jump right into pick'ems for the NFL because nothing's happened yet. We don't really have anything really to talk about. So we're just going to jump right into pick'ems and kind of cover each team as we go. So like I mentioned, the first game this week is Buffalo going on the road to take on the defending champion Los Angeles Rams. Obviously both of these teams are, top of their conference. I think Buffalo's the best team in the NFL. But I don't know, man. I think it's tough to pick against LA on the road in this situation, week 1. I'm going to pick the Bills. Not confidently. I just think the Rams are really good. The Bills are really good. I just think whoever gets a stop will win this game. Whoever just gets more stops will win the game, I think. And I think the Bills, coming off having the best defense in the league last season, will do that. I think the Buffalo's going to win this game.
Yeah, it's so close, dude. What a first game.
Right.
I don't know who to pick. Like, I want to say Bills, but the Rams got Aaron Donald on the D-line.
Yeah, the Rams are really good. They're the defending champions for a reason.
Give me the Rams at home.
That's not a bad pick. I can see it happening.
I'm really torn. Like, I really do think the Bills are the best team in football, but
it's a tough game to start the season out on. Like, even if the Bills do lose this game, it doesn't really change my opinion on like, if they get blown out, yeah, it would probably. But I still think the Rams or the Bills are the best team in football, even if they do lose this game. So I'm gonna pick them. And you take the Rams. This is not a bad pick at all. Moving on to Sunday afternoon football. Baker Mayfield taking on his old team in the Cleveland Browns.
Something has to give here. The Browns haven't won a Week 1 game in 17 years.
They did tie that one year against the Steelers.
That's not a win. And Baker Mayfield has never won a Week 1 game. Obviously, because he played for Cleveland. But something has to give. Unless they tie.
I think this is for Carolina. This is Matt Rule's make or break year. I think if they do bad, Matt Rule's out. This is pretty much our rental year for Baker Mayfield too. Yeah, I'll take Carolina at home.
Yeah, I like Carolina in this game.
I think the Browns, even without Deshaun Watson, are an overall better team. But not having Deshaun Watson is a big. Having Jacoby Brissett play quarterback is just. You just don't want it. And on the road at Carolina, I'm gonna take the Panthers.
Yeah, I got the Panthers too.
This is a pretty interesting game. Jacksonville at Washington. The Commanders bring in a new name in the Commanders. They bring in Carson Wentz, which is a move. I'll say it. It's a move. Good or bad, we'll figure it out. But the Jaguars made a lot of moves this offseason. They bring in Doug Peterson, Super Bowl winning coach. They bring in Christian Kirk, paying him all the money in the world. They bring in Evan Ingram. They bring in Brandon Scherff to bolster their offensive line. Brandon Scherff revenge game against Washington. They bring in Foyesade Oluokun on defense. They draft Devin White. They signed Darius Williams from the Rams. They did a lot of stuff this offseason. Their Jaguars are always players in free agency. Never works out, but they're always players in free agency, and they bring in a lot of guys. Yeah, I'm gonna take Jacksonville. Week one win. Start the Doug Peterson era off right, and I just don't like Washington as a team. I think Washington's just not good, even with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz lost the Colts the playoffs last season against the Jaguars, and he's not going to beat the Jaguars this time either. So give me the Jaguars.
Yeah, I like the Jaguars here too. I think Trevor Lawrence has a improved year this year.
Most definitely.
I'm not saying he's winning MVP, but I think he will improve a lot. So yeah, I'm gonna take the Jaguars here. Just because outside of Terry McLaurin, I don't know what Washington has to hope for.
Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. The Mitchell Trubisky era in Pittsburgh starts in Cincinnati. Cincinnati coming off a Super Bowl run, even with like Pittsburgh losing a lot and them not being great. It's still Pittsburgh. It's still a tough out. Cincinnati is at home. I'm gonna take the Bengals in this game. I'm gonna take the Bengals. Just give me the Bengals.
Yeah, I think I like the Bengals too. Like you said, I think the Steelers, they don't have a lot. I mean, they're not extremely talented, but I think they will.
They're
Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. So
yeah, they probably have the best coaching staff in football right now. So
yeah, I think they'll be decent, but I'm gonna take the Bengals here.
Packers at Minnesota. This is an interesting game. Packers' first game without Devontae Adams. In the offseason, it's been really shaky with Rodgers in the receiving room. I had Minnesota as a playoff team. And Minnesota usually does well to split the games against the Packers every year.
I'm gonna go with the Vikings. Simply because that all the reasons I just stated there. I think Vikings are gonna be a playoff team this year under their new head coach. They usually do well to split the season series with the Packers. Packers lost Devontae Adams. I'm gonna go with the Vikings.
Yeah, I think the Vikings are a good team, but I'm taking the Packers here. Just because, they got Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, he doesn't turn the ball over for one. I still think that defense is pretty solid.
Right.
They need somebody to step up as a receiver for sure.
Yeah, the offense is definitely gonna be a question mark, and that's like they have Aaron Rodgers. Like, I'm not knocking Aaron Rodgers. It's like they don't have that big time weapon on the outside that they can trust. Will Christian Watson step up and be that guy? Will Randall Cobb go back to his old form? Will Alan Lazard break out this year? Who knows? I do know they're back. The two guys in their backfield, Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, will be super involved. Just because I think those are the two best players on that offense besides Rodgers. So they'll definitely get involved in both the running and passing game. It's just who's gonna step up on the outside for them.
Right. I'm taking the Packers though.
The Chiefs at the Cardinals. This is gonna be a fun game to watch. Definitely a high scoring game. It's a fun matchup. The Cardinals lost a lot in the offseason. Cardinals, they just traded for Trayvon Mullen from the Raiders. Like that badly needed cornerback depth. It's a great trade. But they lose Chandler Jones in the offseason. They trade for Marquise Brown. They've lost DeAndre Hopkins for the first 6 games, I believe, of the season. Playing at home, I don't think they're gonna win this game. Chiefs also lost Tyreek Hill, which is a big loss. But I think this Chiefs are still gonna be good, man. I think the Chiefs take this one on the road.
Yeah, I got the Chiefs too. Mahomes, Travis Kelce's gonna be there. I'm curious to see how Juju performs.
They do bring in Juju. I forgot about that. Again, we're taking the Chiefs. No really further questions.
The Super Bowl is in Arizona this year. Could this be the 3rd straight year we see a home team playing the Super Bowl?
No. No. The Raiders at the Chargers in Inglewood.
This is a fun.
First head-to-head matchup of the NFC West of the season. Raiders bring in Devontae Adams from the Packers in the offseason. They bring in Chandler Jones from the Cardinals during free agency. They gave Derek Carr huge extension. The Raiders got better, man. They bring in Josh McDaniels at head coach. Last time we saw Josh McDaniels at the head coaching position, didn't really work out so well. But he has a really good team to work with. The Raiders are good, man. The Chargers
got better too. They brought in Khalil Mack.
Khalil Mack. They signed J.C. Jackson in free agency.
Right.
Sebastian Joseph Day to bolster up that defensive line. They drafted Zion Johnson, instant starter on the offensive line. The Chargers are really good, man. They still have Justin Herbert, one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL. They still have a good receiving core, good running back room. The Chargers might be better. Like this whole AFC West is going to be like, I can see every team in that division winning at least 10 games, and it's going to be a wild season for the NFC or AFC West.
We thought last year was crazy. We get into the playoffs between the Chargers and Raiders.
I don't know who to pick here. I might just pick LA because they're at home, but sometimes that really doesn't matter for Chargers. So I don't really know. I have the Chargers as the 2 or the 3 seed in my standings, and then I have the Raiders missing the playoffs. But I could see each team splitting a game with each other. Like that's how good the division. Yeah. That's how good the division is. It's like each team could be 1-1 in division. I'm gonna go with the Chargers. I'm just gonna go with the Chargers. I think they're a better team, and 2, it's just more like continuity there. In my opinion.
I'm going with the Chargers too. I think Justin Herbert's been great over his career so far. I think what held him back was the bad defense.
Absolutely.
And they obviously improved that defense majorly this offseason, so I could see the Chargers are making some noise.
We got the Buccaneers going to the Big D to take on the Dallas Cowboys.
Was that not at Dallas last year?
It was in Tampa Bay last year, and this is the first game of the season last season. So,
yeah, I know. I just thought it was in Dallas last year too.
No, it was in Tampa Bay. This was a really good game last season. Brady threw a couple picks. I think 2 or 3 in that game. I remember Greg Zuerlein for the Cowboys missed a bunch of field goals that cost him the game. It was a really good game last season. I'm going to take Tampa Bay just because I think they're the better team. I could see Dallas pulling one out here like at home, but I'm going to go with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I'm really torn. I was really torn on this game, and I think I'm going to have to take Tampa Bay too. I can't pick against Tom Brady for one. And like you said, just a lot of questions on Dallas's defense. But I just think the Bucs have too much, especially if Chris Godwin plays. They have all their weapons.
Monday Night Football, Denver going to Seattle. Russell Wilson's first game as a Bronco is in Seattle, where he spent his first 9 seasons in the NFL. I don't think this is really a question. I think Seattle is the worst team in the NFL. I think the Broncos are just, so much better of a team. It's not even a question.
Yeah, I'm taking the Broncos.
Yeah, it'd have to take a miracle for Seattle to win that game, even at home. All right, I think that's gonna end the episode, y'all. We appreciate you guys listening. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit that notification bell so you guys never miss whenever we drop an episode. Follow us on Spotify. Follow us on Apple Podcasts. We're pretty much anywhere you guys listen to a podcast. And we'll see you guys next week. We appreciate